I prepped you, right? Okay. And it doesn't get better. You've got like 5 minutes now till you get a break, so just, hang in there. All right. I'll break this up with jokes. That way we'll get around it, okay? Okay. This is one of my favorites. So if you've seen me do these shows before, I apologize for seeing it over again. So there's this long-time married couple, 50, 60 years. And they live in a third-floor tenement kind of a place. And finally, one day, the wife dies. Now, in those days, when someone died, they would have a wake in the parlor, in the front room of the place. So you didn't go to a funeral home. It was right there, up in front of the big bay window and everything. So they had it. And, now as the Irish are, the joke goes that the difference between an Irish wedding and an Irish wake is one less drunk. I've heard that one. So there's a little alcoholic activity going on at the wake. But the time finally comes to go to the church. So the guys grab the coffin, and they take it onto their shoulders, and they're going down the stairs. Now, they got to get around a corner in the stairs. It's one of those kinds of things. So they come to this one point in the stairs, and one of the guys basically loses track. Basically it falls. The coffin falls onto the ground. It pops open, and just like that, the woman comes back to life. And everyone's just amazed, and it's incredible, it's wonderful, And they go back upstairs, and they continue the party. What else would they do? She's alive. It's a miracle. She lived for some years. And then she died again. And they go through this whole thing again. They go up to the parlor. Everybody's drinking. They're getting drunk. It's a terrible thing. Oh, everything's crazy. Finally, it comes time to go to the church. They take the casket, coffin, they put it on their shoulders. They come down the stairs. And they get to that point in the stairs. And the husband says, "Be careful, lads. Bad accident here a few years back. Be very careful." All right, okay. My dad, who's here today, thank you, Dad, for coming. Glad to see you. He had one of those. He grew up in one of those places with the stairs that went like that. So I always envisioned my grandparents' house when I did it. Okay, so the next one, "The Fields of Athenry," is about the famine times in Ireland. So it's a contemporary song, but it's written about the 1840s and the potato famine. And the story goes that there was families, people were starving left and right. There were some 9 million people in Ireland in 1840 and only 3 million in 1850. Some 3 million had died of starvation, and another 3 million had emigrated because their only chance at life was to get out of the country. And so the story of the Fields of Athenry is about transportation. It's about being convicted of a crime and sent to Botany Bay, Australia, from which you really never returned. It was one of those kinds of things where, it could be a 3-year term, and basically, kind of like Les Mis, you never come back from that. So this young man is accused of going onto a ship, trying to steal some corn that they knew was on the ship, and being caught. And he was caught, tried, convicted, and sent to Australia, basically for just trying to feed his family. So again, a bit like Les Mis. But the theme of transportation, of being sent away forever, basically, is a sad theme in Irish history. So the song really brings together a series of elements. And while I love the song itself, I think the context of the song is very important to understand, so that you really feel the whole song together. Prison wall, I heard a young girl calling, "Michael, they have taken you away, for you stole Trevelyan's corn, so the young might see the morn. Now a prison ship lies waiting in the bay. Low lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing
and songs to sing. It's so lonely round the fields of Athenry. By a lonely prison wall, I heard a young man calling. Nothing matters, Mary, when you're free. Against the famine and the crown, I rebelled, they ran me down. Now you must raise our child with dignity. Long lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. It's so lonely around the fields of Athenry. By a lonely harbor wall, she watched the last star falling, and that prison ship sailed out against the sky. And she'll live and hope and pray for her love in Botany Bay. It's so lonely around the fields of Athenry. Long lie the fields of Athenry, where once we watched the small free birds fly. Our love was on the wing, we had dreams and songs to sing. It's so lonely round the fields of Athenry. It's so lonely around the fields of Athenry. Another term that the Irish used to refer to Ireland during those times, among others like the red-haired man's wife. I thought that was kind of funny. Or as a mother, as in Poor Green Fields. Another one was Roisin Douve, which means my black rose, the black rose. My sweet little rose, cease to pine for the past, for the friends that come eastward shall see thee at last. They bring blessings and favors the past never knew. So pour forth in gladness on my Roisin. There's no flower that e'er bloomed can my rose excel. There's no tongue that e'er moved half my love can tell. Had I strength, had I skill, the wide world to subdue, oh, the queen of the wide world should be Roisin. the moors shall lie low. The river shall run backward, and the lakes overflow. The wild waves of old ocean wear a crimson hue. Ere the world sees the ruin of my Rosine, do. Well, you handled that well. I think that was very good. I appreciate your sticking through that. It's kind of hard to do something about Ireland or Irish music without talking about that part of Irish history. So it's just important to me that that be a part of what I do. Okay, so this next section is a little more Broadway stuff, and each piece of this takes a little bit of explanation. I chose the first one because a couple of reasons. First of all, On the Street Where You Live is from My Fair Lady, 1956 on Broadway. So now we're starting to move forward a little bit, but My Fair Lady is from the play Pygmalion by the Anglo-Irish George Bernard Shaw. So you'll notice there's just this theme. I just can't, I'm struggling to get away from the Irish connection to Broadway, and I'm not doing very well at it, but you're coming along just fine. Thank you very much for sticking with me. So, but I love it. Now, I was in 7th grade, I was Colonel Pickering in Pygmalion. And so, On the Street Where You Live, because it wasn't My Fair Lady, we didn't do the musical version, but after we did the show, we went into New York City, and we saw My Fair Lady. I think it was like the 1978 version of it, or something like that. I got to see the show, and it was Rex Harrison. He was back. He did it the first time. And I want to say it was like Julie Andrews or Mary Martin the first time around, but I think it was Julie Andrews that was in it in 78. I don't remember specifically, but of course the show Eliza Doolittle and Henry Higgins teaches Eliza Doolittle to become a lady in essence. But there's this tension between the two characters as to whether or not something is going to happen between them, and it never does. But what does happen is that little Freddie Eynsford Hill, this little kind of wimpy guy, quite frankly, falls in love with Eliza. And he's literally standing in front of the house out on the street. And just being close to the house is enough for him to express his love. On the Street Where You Live. I have often walked down this street before, but the pavement always stayed beneath my feet before. All at once am I several stories high, knowing I'm on the street where you live. Are there lilac trees in the heart of town? Can you hear a lark in any other part of town? Does contentment pour out of every door? No, it's just on the street where you live. And oh, the towering feeling, just to know somehow you are near. The overpowering feeling that any second you might suddenly appear. People stop and stare, they don't bother me, 'cause there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by, I don't care if I can be here on the street where you live.
tell. I don't know. Does it come out? Does it go, Does it come forth? That's not good. That wasn't in the plan. Holy crow. Okay. So, next song. We're not going to use this, so let me put that. This next song, there's a little story for me, a connection for me to this next song. Andrew Lloyd Webber started writing music for the theater back in the 1970s. I want to say Jesus Christ Superstar might have been his first one, and that he became famous for. And of course, he went on to do The Lion King and a whole bunch of other ones. But back in the 1980s, he first was working on Phantom of the Opera. And I've seen Phantom a couple of times. I was honored enough to become friendly with a young lady named Michelle McConnell, who just finished in December doing 5 years as Carlotta in Phantom of the Opera in New York. She's the longest running Carlotta in the 30-year history of Phantom of the Opera in New York City, so she actually got a little bit of fame for herself. And decided I wanted to do Music of the Night from Phantom of the Opera because of my personal connection and friendship with her. So there's a little story to this, which is why I've got this in front of me. I don't know why. I'm going to sing a song later. I've got a little story about how it sticks in your head. Some songs stick in your head. Okay? Did anybody here have trouble with Your Grand Old Flag? Right? You knew it. It just was there, right? Music of the Night does not stick in my head. So I'm preparing for this program, and I knew I wanted to do this song. I'm preparing for the program. I'm going, I can't memorize this damn song. I'm having trouble with it. So I called Michelle. I literally called her. I said, I've been singing my entire life. I've never had so much trouble as I had with this song. Now, just so you know, you probably haven't had to sing this song ever, so you've never had to structure it in your head and figure it out. The song, in a sense, has 10 verses. It's what makes it challenging. And 3 of them are sung in one way, 3 of them are sung another way, and 3 are sung in a different way. And the words change very slightly from one to the next. But when you read the words, they're very, very particular. There is this seduction in this song. The Phantom is trying to win the beautiful young Christine over to himself. And here he is. He's disfigured. He lives in the bowels of some theater someplace. God knows how he makes a living. It doesn't seem like a really good catch, right? This beautiful young woman that he's in love with, he's trying so hard to seduce her. And the words are very specific as to how this song progresses. So I said to Michelle, I can't get this wrong, but I'm really having a tough time. And she says, every guy that plays the Phantom has trouble with the song. So you're not alone. You're not an idiot. I was an idiot. I was like, apparently I can memorize 999 songs, but not 1,000 or something, But they all struggle with it because of the way that the song is structured and because of the way the language changes. So, for example, in one of the verses, it starts with the word slowly, and another one, it goes slowly and gently. Another one goes softly and deftly. In your head, slowly, soft, it's so easy to mix the two up. But if you sing slowly and follow it by deftly, you don't have softly and deftly together. So it is really a well-constructed song. And I, as a professional, to use the words in front of me is very hard, but I really wanted to do it right. And that's why I'm going to use the words for this one.
Amazing. So, edit out the music stand.
Nighttime sharpens, heightens each sensation. Darkness stirs and wakes imagination. Silence tremulous and tender. Turn your face away from the garish light of day. Turn your face away from cold, unfeeling light, and listen to the music of the night. Close your eyes and surrender to your darkest dreams. Leave all thoughts of the world you knew before. Close your eyes, let your spirit start to soar, and you'll live as you've never lived before. Softly, deftly, music shall caress you. Hear it, feel it, secretly possess you. Open up your mind, let your fantasies unwind. In this darkness which you know you cannot fight, the darkness of the music of the night. Let your mind start a journey through a strange new world. Leave all thoughts of the world you knew before. Let your soul take you where you long to be. Only then can you belong to me. Floating, falling, sweet intoxication. Touch me, trust me, savor each sensation. Let the dream begin. Let your darker side give in to the power of the music that I write. The power of the music of the night. My soul take flight. Help me make the music of the night.